IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I'm Ashdin, Doctor, your habit coach, and today we have our second episode with Dr. Vignesh. And you might wonder why we are jumping into a topic. This is because we had one long episode that we've broken up into two parts. This episode is about vitality and sexual wellness. So if you have kids around and you probably don't want to listen to this with them, please listen to another episode of the Habit Coach podcast and come back to this when you are maybe alone. All right, Dr. Vignesh, let's dive into it. Now, what does vitality have to do with our sexual health?
Okay. It's like the chicken and egg. If one is affected, the other is affected. If the other is affected, this will be affected. But the first thing is, if your vitality is good, your sexual health will also be great. And sexual health, again, is a luxury of a person who has good vitality. I mean, for sure, many people could have ability to perform sex. But to enjoy that and to make sure it is a beautiful activity, they need to have good vitality. See, because in Ayurveda, like I told you about the 7 dhatus, the 7th dhatu is the tissue that is dealing with our reproductive capacity. Now, that is the last dhatu. It's like the last one that comes. So, when that dhatu has to perform at its best, all the previous 7 dhatus, starting with our healthy food and healthy digestion, has to be perfect. And including your muscle activity has to be good. Your fat percentage has to be optimal. And your muscle strength has to be great. See, all of this will play in its part. Like, that is why in obesity, many people can face impotency for a while. It's not a permanent thing. They feel that they could have erectile dysfunction. They could have premature ejaculation issues. They feel loss of libido. It's not that they can substitute it by taking a pill. It will not happen like that, because nature wants good flow of the intelligence. So anywhere nature observes that somebody is not healthy, they will make sure his sexual capacity will also be affected, because nature doesn't want a lot of manufacturing defects. It's just the nature's intelligence to stop creating more and more manufacturing defects.
Correct.
So to your question, definitely, vitality is the foundation of good sexual wellness.
And I love the way that you put it, because I'll give you an example from my clients. So I'll take 3 clients. 2 clients of mine had been trying to get pregnant or have a baby, correct, for the longest time. We started focusing on their habits. Sleep happened, nutrition happened, little amount of weight loss happened, but not that much. But as a result of getting everything else in place, they got pregnant. Correct? It was the weirdest thing, right? Because that was not the goal of me coming in at all.
Exactly.
It was a byproduct that happened. And so good or bad, it was something that suddenly takes place as soon as your body realizes that now I am healthy.
Exactly.
And I think this is something very important for us to understand. As soon as we get into that stage of the body realizes that now I am healthy enough to be able to have a child.
Exactly.
Everything gets into place.
Exactly.
The problem that we have is that we are trying to force a situation where your body is, like you said, native intelligence realizes that, Baba, if you have a child right now, you won't be able to take care of it. You won't get a good quality reproductive body.
Exactly.
Because right now, as the way that like modern science is talking about this, where they're looking at their DNA, like I don't know if DNA is part of Ayurveda or not, but like when we're talking about our DNA is constantly duplicating itself.
Exactly.
Now, if you are having these toxins in your body, if you are having these low energy moments, your vitality is wrong, what happens is that your DNA starts getting defects. Correct?
Exactly.
And the body cannot repair those defects fast enough.
Exactly.
So as a result, what happens is that you're passing on those defects to the next generation.
Exactly.
So which is why the body says, don't make the next generation right now. Probably there is something that's happening in the environment that is stressing you out.
Exactly. That's
Correct. So this is
rightly put. Fantastic.
It's so interesting, and I'll give you another example. Sorry, I'm taking over
No,
from Ayurveda because this is
I
very
love the way you
exciting.
rephrase it. It's fantastic.
So in Chinese medicine, so when you learn about qigong, etc., they talk about sperm and sperm retention, right? So there is we'll talk about this, of course, because I know Ayurveda probably talk about this as well. But they talk about how as you age, the number of times a man should ejaculate should reduce. Correct. So the younger you are, the more ejaculations you can have. The older you are, maybe it comes down to once a week, twice a month, once a month, that way. And the reason for it was exactly what you said, that it takes a certain amount of food to make your blood. Out of that blood, it takes a certain amount of food to make. And finally, the last is the sperm.
Yes, exactly.
So every time you waste your sperm, you technically wasted your muscle, plus your bones, plus your marrow, plus your blood, plus,
exactly.
plus.
Rightly put.
So it's very interesting how these systems actually are saying the same thing, and it's so beautiful because you realize that all right, so there is something to this,
exactly,
and we should be changing the way that we probably think about the way that we think about sexual wellness, right?
Exactly.
No, it's absolutely fascinating.
That's see, you're talking about this Chinese system, and you're talking about the semen retention. In Ayurveda, we say there are 3 pillars for fantastic longevity and vitality. It's not just longevity. I mean, longevity without good health is, again, better to die young than to live long with a lot of health issues. That is making it difficult. That is why we have euthanasia being discussed in many countries. So the ultimate point, I mean, the best state is to live long and be super healthy. So in order to have that, Ayurveda comes up with 3 pillars. I mean, 3 rules. The first rule is nidra. The word nidra, I mean, usually if you look at dictionaries or American authors, when they write about nidra, it says it is sleep.
Correct, yoga nidra.
But the word nidra actually means to relax, to recover, and also sleep is a part of that.
Lovely.
So if you are not taking the time to relax and recover, that is the first foundation of your longevity and vitality. The second one is ahara, which is your nourishment. So, and the third one, they call it brahmacharya. Now, that is one that you're talking about. It is a very controversial topic. Not controversial, it is a very misunderstood topic, the word brahmacharya. So the idea is nidra, ahara, and brahmacharya. There is a sequence to this. Like if your sleep or your recovery and your relaxation is compromised, no matter how good your nourishment is, no matter how good your brahmacharya is, it doesn't matter. Because it has to have the solid foundation of good nidra. Only then, if your nidra is good, your nourishment is also going to be proper. Only when these two are proper, your ability of brahmacharya will be proper. Now, let us discuss about this word brahmacharya.
Yes.
Now, the word brahmacharya, if you decode it, brahmacharya. Now, the word brahma, again, we decode it. We have 2 sounds, bra and ma. Now, the word bra actually means to grow or to expand. And ma means my purest self.
To expand my purest self.
My purest, why I say purest self means there is a difference between what I am truly and what I could be like a fake personality. Yes. Like the way the nature created myself. So that expansion, and charya means it's a word for ritual. Like I'm doing this ritual every day. So a daily rituals to expand your true self. That is what actually the empirical meaning of the word brahmacharya is.
Lovely.
But some people call it celibacy. Some Indian people who have translated the word brahmacharya, they call it. It is also could be good sex life, but with your married partner or with your person that you are committed to. Okay, some people, if they belong to a tradition where celibacy is glorified, then they call it celibacy. But why some people call brahmacharya as a celibacy? Because they saw many enlightened people or monks or people who are, like when you talked about people, like you saw such a glow in their eyes. And I want to know what is happening there. So they noticed that one of the common factors of people who are having that vitality, they were celibates. And when you ask them, what makes you celibate? See, celibacy is not a lot of effort. And if you suppress your sexual energy, that is worse than celibacy.
Yes.
That is not something that needs to be suppressed. And sexual energy is the energy that is responsible for every activity.
Yes.
And the word Shukra is the seventh dhatu. And in Ayurveda, it is said, the element of Shukra is present in every cell of your body, because that is, every cell is being reproduced.
Exactly. Reproduction is something that's happening constantly.
You cut your nails, it grows.
Yes. Yes.
You cut your hair, okay, it grows, but it depends. But the idea is your liver, even if it is having only like 20 to 30% left, even then it will grow back.
Correct.
So it is that powerful. Every part of our body is reproducing and growing. And the same with our mental powers. So the more we eliminate this Shukra Dhatu, like you said, once the more we eliminate that or waste that, our vitality can go down. So that's the old part. But at the same time, it is not about frustration. I mean, you see, sexual frustration is something else, and celibacy is something different. Now we can look at it like in one of your episodes. If I am craving for sugar so badly, and if I somehow suppress it myself, I will get into something unhealthy.
Yes.
But if I work on myself and change my chemical imbalances, and I get rid of that need for sugar because I'm so happy without that, now that is what is a state of good celibacy. But that doesn't mean you have to be a celibate, or celibate is not something that you do it with a lot of effort. See, the more you waste, I mean, for example, if people are having compulsive masturbation habits, that is very dangerous. That can affect their ability, that can affect their immunity, that can affect their ability to focus also, because vitality is also your ability to focus. So that is why, like in Chinese medicine, in Ayurveda, in yoga, they all talk about avoid getting distracted with your unwanted sexual energies, because the more you eliminate this energy, your ability to be productive in every aspect of your life will also be compromised.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so interesting when you talk about it, so again, talking about from the Qigong perspective, I like these two that we can talk about. They're not saying don't have sex.
Exactly.
They're saying don't ejaculate. And there's an entire science that this whole Chinese Qigong methodology has come up on how men can have sex, retain it, and even have multiple orgasms without ejaculation. So that is something that you teach yourself. These are techniques that you can teach yourself as you grow. But the important point is that how do you use that sexual energy in other aspects of your life? Because otherwise, what is the point of that sexual energy, right? One aspect of looking at it is saying that it is testosterone that is making you go wild, right? It's testosterone that's making you like super focused on when can I find somebody to have sex with. Another way of thinking about it is that can you use that testosterone to help you in your work, right? Can you direct the testosterone into a workout? Can you direct the testosterone somewhere else? So the same feelings can you breathe through and use elsewhere?
Exactly.
So the big issue that I'm seeing in today's day and age when it comes to sexual well-being, sexual health, and the way that we approach sex is that we're approaching it in a very transactional manner, and B, from pop culture. So our generation, my generation, has learned about sex from where? Watching Friends on TV. Correct? Ross, Monica, Chandler, all of that is how we've learned about what sex is supposed to be.
Exactly.
Right? We've not learned that there is probably more to sex than, oh, I slept with him, oh, I slept with that person, oh, this happened, oh, that happened. And this is where I think there is a big misunderstanding and such a taboo around the topic.
Exactly.
But that just like we have different energy systems, like we have energy coming from the food that we eat, we have energy that's coming from the breath that we take, our sexual energy is also an energy system in itself, that if you can learn and read up more about it, learn to use, it is completely potent.
Exactly.
and vital.
I mean, I really appreciate the way you put it with, the energy that we eat, there is energy in that. the information that we put into our brain, there's energy in that. If you're constantly feeding your stuff with unhealthy news, that's also going to affect your nervous system.
Yes.
So same way, sex is such a powerful nervous activity. There is a lot of things that are going inside the person's body, while whether a man or a woman, that is going on. And the point in Ayurveda that is mentioned, the word ojas, it is the ultimate essence of a person's health. That is what the word ojas is. And like we said, sexual ability is the luxury of a healthy person. So the more we use it, dissipate it, or release it, there are more possibility that if you're not doing the proper taking care, it will also affect us. But today, we consider it as a performance sport, because that's how pornography has trained most of us.
Yes.
Because in India, see, we are a country with a huge contrast. We are a confused country when it comes to sexuality. On one hand, we wrote Kama Sutra. On the other hand, we are still debating, should we include sex education in the school? I mean, look at the paradox. And many other people are talking about how the Indian system is helping them, but at the same time, we are still suppressing it. And why I say we are a sexually confused country. On one hand, sex is not good, but on the other hand, everywhere you see, it's sexualized. Yes. You see the newspapers. I mean, Times of India, my God, it's one of the most, you will see every page 3s, it is full of that. You go out, especially in India, when many people from abroad come, they will see the posters of Bollywood, all talking about, you come and watch us for 3 hours, we'll give you sexual enlightenment. That is how they talk about, with all the music, with all the drama. So we are constantly feeding this energy inside us. Go and release it, go and release it, go and release it. And that is where it is affecting our ability to be creative and finding our true self.
Beautiful.
So how to conserve that energy? See, like you're talking about, that testosterone level, you can use it for workout, you can use it for something productive. The best example I can tell you, every country, they invest a lot in their defense budget. But once I was reading an article, one of the ministers was asking the president, what's the point in investing so much in defense when there is nothing inside the country to protect?
Lovely.
So instead of investing so much on the defense, redirecting that investment for our education, redirecting that investment for childhood and women's health, welfare, that makes a huge difference. The same is with when you release it for sexual purpose, it is like investing so much on the defense. It is just, I want to produce more, because the nature has inbuilt this mechanism that we have to reproduce so that our lineage is continued. It's a natural inbuilt software. We cannot fight with it. However, we do have the choice to redirect that energy for something beautiful, something more purposeful. See, if sex is the ultimate form of happiness, then India must be the happiest country. Many parts of the world will be a happy place. But it is not so. It is just a temporary pleasure that you are releasing. Just like I crave for sugar, when you eat it, you get it, but afterwards, it's not necessary. But when you perform it in the nicest way, when you look at it from a sacred point of view, it gives you more and more of good vitality. So if you look at it from a performance sport, I just want to have that feeling of I did something great, or I did so many things, then it doesn't work that way. It is not about a performance sport where you count your scores. It is more about the quality and how much of sacredness you are putting into it that matters. So that is what we look at it from a sexual point of view. But now when we use that energy for, every creative aspect that you're doing, every creative artwork that you're doing, every creative sentence that you're doing, every creative content that you're putting it out, maybe from a logical point of view, it will not make sense when we say that it is the sexual energy that is coming. So instead of calling it sexual energy, let's call it creative energy.
Correct.
It is the creative energy.
Creating energy.
Exactly, creating energy.
Let's call it creating energy. Perfect. Lovely. I love this.
And that's what sexual activity is, actually creating energy.
Yes.
Because you're creating another life.
Yeah.
And creativity is what? It is your inbuilt Shukra Dhatu. It is your seventh Dhatu, which is responsible for all the creative aspects. See, When does something die? When they stop being creative? When do people feel depressed? When they feel that they are not growing? And growth is what? It's a type of creativity.
Beautiful.
So that is
never thought of.
Yeah, growth is all about growing, and growing is something that you're saying goodbye to your old self. And when you say goodbye to your old self, that means you stopped something and you created something new. So creativity is such a beautiful part. We can use it for sexual purpose, or we can use it for something beautiful. And I'm not saying sex is bad or it is not beautiful, but it's your personal choice.
And I think, there are two big things to unfold from this. So one is from a spiritual point of view, the way that when you look at your Swadhisthana chakra, which is the second chakra, it's all about creativity. And it's also the chakra responsible for your sexual organs. Correct? So it is creating in nature. And we can obviously, at some point of time, guys, if you like these kind of discussions about spirituality, we can definitely have that. Message me, tell me. I would love to. But the important point that we're making here is that we're not saying sex is bad. We're not saying don't do it. And that is not the objective at all from this conversation. The objective from this conversation is understanding how can you make it even better. So if you understand it from that point of view, you'll see what we're saying between the lines. We're saying just like we have junk food, we can have junk sex.
Correct? Perfectly put. Wow.
And instead of that, start choosing your organic, whole foods, and you'll be having fantastic whole sex. Right? Which is emotional, which is physical, which is creative in nature. All those aspects come together. So I think when we're talking about these things, it's very easy to get pulled down into a wormhole saying that no, you're getting completely lost in this discussion about, sex is good, sex is bad. That is not the point here. Correct? We are talking about try leveling up and try it out. Correct? Right now, we've learned only one way, like Dr. Vignesh was saying, from porn, correct? From pop culture, right? You watch Spartacus on Netflix, and everybody is just basically trying to kill the other person in their sexual acts. But the thing is that maybe there is more to it. And like you were talking about, the Kama Sutra was actually created for women empowerment. And that's a beautiful learning in itself. The entire Kama Sutra was not designed for men. It was actually designed for men and how to empower their women in that process. So I think it's very interesting to understand, sexuality and the history and the lineage about it. And if you're interested in this, please do lots of research on it because it's absolutely fascinating.
I mean, if you read some of the modern books on sexual research, sexual activity and research, and if you read Kama Sutra, imagine thousands of years ago, somebody did a research on female sexuality. And even when the female sexuality was discussed in America during the 50s and 60s by Masters and Johnson, they had so much of oppression and people were actually threatening them to kill.
Correct.
That's on one hand, we had that liberated society, but now it's just that it's all messed up. We are confused. On one hand, we are told this is not good. On the other hand, you see it everywhere. It's like that pressure cooker. On one hand, it is suppressed. On the other hand, it boils down. And that is where people go haywire.
Absolutely. Okay, lovely. So doctor, when we think about sexuality and sexual health, like you're talking about how we're researching it and how in the Kama Sutra, it's different. Is there a difference between male sexual health, women's sexual health? What are the ways that we should actually think about these two completely differently? And what does Ayurveda have to say about it?
Okay, so in Ayurveda, the word Shukradadu, it is present in both male and female.
Right.
Every cell in our body is reproducing every moment. So, but when it comes to male sexual health, the distinctive difference is in a male sexual health and female sexual health. In male sexual health, a man's masculinity is slightly cooler and woman's subtle energy is slightly warm. This is just an understanding because Stri is Agneya. Agneya means it is something having to do with the fire element or the heat element. And the man is a little bit Saumya or cool. This is how the energy is. So when you look at it, it is like a man's energy is a lot to do with how he conserves. And if you look at the heart is the organ that is responsible for the blood circulation. Anything that is good for the heart is good for the sexual health. Because, when you look at erectile dysfunction, which is the number one sexual problem of a man, it's actually a blood flow problem. Erectile dysfunction is a blood flow problem if you rephrase it, because the blood flow is affected. And heart is the state where our vitality is the seat. So something goes wrong with the heart, it immediately affects them. That is why, the prescription for people who had heart problems, the number one prescription is a blood thinner.
Yes.
Because a thick blood, it creates blocks.
So, and thick blood is sticky.
Yeah, thick blood is sticky, exactly. And blood thinner means what? It makes the thick blood thin. And same with women. Women can also have heart problems, but comparative to man and woman, men are having more heart problems than women. Like in women, we hear a lot about breast problem, breast cancer, or other issues. But men, you have prostate issues. But when it comes to the heart problems, men are more prone than a woman. But it's not, doesn't mean that women don't have it, but comparatively, it's much less. Because, a man has to invest a lot of his blood to another organ. Same way, a woman doesn't need to invest so much. It's a different way. So when you look at a man's sexual health, it talks about how is his endurance, how is his capacity to handle it. But when it comes to women, it is about if you talk about women's sexual problems, it leads to things like loss of libido, dryness, or pain during sexual intercourse. These are the problems that you hear. It's mostly to do with is the water element strong enough? Because she can dry up because she's Agneya in nature. Heat can go up. So that is where, and that dryness is an issue again. If she is indulging in unhealthy habits, the dryness can go up. Like if you eat a lot of dessert at night, the next morning you feel dehydrated. So over a period of time, you continue that, the body can become dry. And a woman during menopausal times, one of the biggest problems they face is they feel dry, and it can, in fact, even it can impact their relationship with the partner.
Correct.
So a man's ability is about how good the heart health is when it comes to man's sexual health, and a woman's sexual well-being is how good is her, the feminine energy, which all deals with the water element, how harmonious it is. So that's what it goes down to.
Very interesting. And are there ways for women to increase or make a difference in their sexual wellness according to Ayurveda? What are the things that they should be doing? Are there steps that they should be following? Let's talk about pre-menopause and then probably during menopause or afterwards. Like, what is the difference? Because I know there's a big change that takes place.
For sure, yes. I mean, if you consider the menopausal times, it's just that, they were, every woman has this monthly cycle. They have an egg that is formed and that has to be eliminated. And during that elimination, a lot of blood eliminates many other toxins also. So it's like a woman is having a lot of monthly room service that is happening.
Correct. Yes.
So once that stops, then the body has to find a way. Suddenly it goes through a period. What is going on? It's just like when a woman is starting her menstrual cycle, it's a transit zone. She goes through lots of physical changes. Same way, menopause is the second transit zone, but it's just a transit period. But in fact, when people ask why do women have menopause in the first place? So why does nature invent menopause? Okay, the possibility of having manufacturing defects after a certain age. I mean, when a woman gives birth in her late 40s, like 46 or 47, I mean, there are women who give birth to healthy children even in their 48, or even there are women who give healthy child in their 49th and 50th age. So, but the statistics means 50%, 50% the other side. So the possibility of manufacturing defect goes high as she ages. So nature thought, okay, I cannot compromise when it comes to manufacturing defects because it will create a lot of other chaos. So maybe let's give her a break. After a certain age, she stops this because she is the one who produces the baby, because she's the one who's responsible for that. Man is just a donor, and it's a woman who delivers that. So let's stop it. But in fact, a big industry in the pharmaceutical genre is about contraceptives.
Yes.
So after that age, she doesn't need the contraceptives. I mean, of course, when it is required with protection with many infectious diseases, that's a different case. But when it comes to that is another positive side of that. Yeah. But during the menopause stage, her pitta will go high because her monthly elimination has reduced. So when it comes to a woman's sexual health or fertility, it all zeroes down to how good is her menstrual cycle. And I get a lot of patients who are post-menopause or going through the menopausal issues. So whenever I ask, they take their history, whenever they are having severe menopause problems, and when I take their menstrual history during their menstrual times, they say that they could have a lot of irregular menstrual problems. So one of the best precautions to have a proper menopause and even having good sexual life during the menopause is to correct your menstrual cycle ASAP. If it is painful, correct it. If it is irregular, correct it. And these are things that can be corrected with proper lifestyle and eliminating all the unhealthy stuff. You don't need a magic pill for that. And there is no magic pill also in the first place.
There isn't.
Yes, exactly. So like I said, the heart health is so vital for a man's sexual health. A proper regular menstrual cycle, which is the element of water and fire. When these two elements are corrected, then her sexual health is good. So when it comes to woman's sexual health, we always check about anemia. I mean, if she's having anemia, she will feel tired. And even, why women wear lipstick? I mean, I ask this because it's just a question, why do they wear lipstick? Because lipstick is a sign that, it's a red lipstick is the most common one, right? Okay, now we have different colors. But why
green.
Yeah, but why they wear red lipstick? Because red is a color that denotes the density of iron or hemoglobin, right?
Correct.
So hemoglobin is what makes her blood circulation good, and that makes her fertile. Yes. So if her lips are red, it's a sign a woman is giving to the opposite sex. She's fertile. She can be a potential carrier for the next generation.
Correct.
So when her iron levels go low, the intensity of that iron could be low, and that can show up on the color of the lips.
Very interesting.
So that is, and even if you look at the word female, what is Fe stands for? Fe is what? Ferrum. Ferrum is iron. So that is why iron deficiency is one of the biggest contributors for sexual disorders in women. It's not just anemia and fatigue and anxiety and irregular menstrual cycle. It completely disrupts their fertility and their sexual wellness and their ability to enjoy sex.
This is the exact opposite thing when it comes to men.
Yeah.
So men have a too much ferritin problem from time to time because we don't have a way of actually eliminating the iron. So we have a too much iron problem. Women have a too little iron problem sometimes. And it's so interesting, you're talking about makeup, and all throughout, when you actually look at the history of these products, makeup again, when you go to, everything was about childbearing age, childbearing hips, right? When you were looking for a mate at that point of time. They weren't necessarily like love marriages, probably it was arranged and everything was there like that years ago, centuries ago. And which is why we think about rouge as well, putting blush on your cheeks.
Exactly.
Again,
it's giving a sign. Exactly.
Correct. Like I remember there's a statement that says, pinch your cheeks before going out, right? You pinch your cheeks so that they turn red so that people think that a sign of vitality or high iron or not anemia in you. And there's one thing that you said very in passing that I think is important when we talk about women's sexual health. And I know, guys, you're probably thinking, why are two men talking about women's sexual health? And don't worry, the irony is not lost on us. But we're talking to a doctor. So he meets patients constantly, right? So he knows on both sides of the story. And we're talking to me who's just born curious, read too much about all these things and spoken to lots of people. But the thing is that, Dr. Vignesh, you just said something very interesting. You said that, are you having excessive pain and are you having irregular flow?
Yes.
Now, what is happening in today's day and age is that a lot of people that are talking to me about their periods are taking both of these for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I will have pain. Of course, my flow is irregular from time to time. It's become a part of our life.
Exactly.
And it's important for us to understand that when we're thinking about health, when we're thinking about optimizing our life, when we're thinking about vitality, both these things should not be there.
Exactly.
Correct? Pain is not necessary
it's just
a part
that
of the
they didn't
process.
have a good reference point. That's all.
Yes, correct. And and again, we get back into pop culture. If everyone's doing it, everyone's in pain, that means my pain is also normal.
Exactly.
But the point is that everybody is actually unhealthy around you.
I mean,
and that's a bitter pill to swallow.
I mean, our tolerance level as a community, and when you look at women, it is being educated. It's okay to have pain. Just deal with it, or take the contraceptive pill. That's the alternative that has been.
Or take a painkiller.
Exactly, painkiller. Or they give, something that will reduce the pain at that point of time, and that's it.
But you're so absolutely right. As soon as you start getting healthier, and I've seen this with my clients as well, pain goes away.
Exactly.
Correct? Remember, I was telling you maybe now this is the last episode that we had spoken about, because we are splitting this long episode into two.
Yes.
But I told you about my clients. 2 of the 3 examples I wanted to give you. 2 people had a baby after getting the habits in place. The third person that I want to talk about was somebody who used to miss her periods for 2-3 months in a row.
Yes.
Correct? And just the facts that she got her stress down. So for her, it was stress and it was food primarily. These 2 changes got her period down to a monthly regular cycle. Now, can you imagine the power behind something like that? So one is that we make excuses. The point is that we make excuses for our shortcomings and for the way that we are. But I'm saying that it's very powerful to understand that actually it's in your hands. It is not a genetic thing necessarily. It only happens this way. If you feel that you want to make a change, there is a way of making a change. And like Dr. Vignesh was saying, it is a lifestyle change. It's that vitality that you to bring to your life. Remove all the stuff that you know is draining your energy, so that you can actually bring that vitality through to your day and to all these cycles.
I mean, like what you were saying, I always tell my patients when they come with some chronic diseases, they are not able to change. And doctor, I went to so many doctors, and today, being an Ayurvedic doctor, you are a doctor for leftover patients. They went to many doctors and it didn't work, so they come to you.
Yeah, so absolutely. If allopathy hasn't worked, anything hasn't worked, Ayurveda last.
No, I mean, it's not that allopathy doesn't work. It's just a different approach.
Way of approaching, of course.
And when they come, we tell them, see, there is no incurable disease. There are only incurable people.
Oh my God. That is like a truth bomb right
exactly.
there.
And incurable people means, I've seen people with really severe disease, but when they come with the willingness to change, we change it effortlessly. I mean, not like effortlessly, we change it with time and changes. But even when they have a small problem, but if they come with a lot of mindset issues, even that doesn't change at all.
Correct.
So what is that mindset? The mindset is, am I really willing to change my lifestyle, change my mindset? And that all zeroes down to what you're saying about the habits, And am I willing to reduce the stress? Because stress in a man, it affects the heart health. In a woman also it affects the heart health, but in a woman, stress makes her more dry. And in a man, it affects the heart health. In a woman, it dries her up. So that is why one of the biggest causes of infertility these days, I mean, whenever couples come for fertility therapy, one of the things that I always talk to them is, what is the stress level of both of them? And once the stress level is changed, and then we do the detoxing therapy, we have this therapy called as panchakarma. And after we do this detoxing therapy called panchakarma, and when we focus on eliminating stress from their life, then everything just falls into places. Like you said, after the habit change, we don't need to be a gynecologist. Just by changing the habits, eliminating all the unhealthy habits, the body itself, body is the greatest pharmacy ever devised. All the painkillers that you're taking, all the antidepressants sometimes that you take, all the hormone replacement therapies that you do, it is already produced in our body.
Yes.
And vitality means you have the best pharmacy activated and being ready. So stress has to be eliminated. Stress is a silent killer, which we are underrating it today than any other time.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. the endothelial lining in our body is basically where our pharmacy exists.
Exactly.
Right? It's exactly where everything gets immediately put into our blood system.
Exactly.
And when we have our sticky blood, what are we doing? We're basically making our endothelial lining sticky.
Exactly.
So I think it's so beautiful the way everything combines together. Now, so doctor, when typically we think about Ayurveda and we talk about sexual health, immediately we start thinking supplements, right? These pills I can take, something that is there, and there's so many words that get thrown around. I'm not going to mention any of them. But first, you tell me, makes sense or doesn't make sense? Should we be thinking supplements? Should we not be thinking supplements for sexual health, sexual well-being?
Okay, supplements are like, let's say you want to go for an athletic performance. Let's say you want to run for 100 meters race. So just by having the best expensive Nike shoes doesn't mean that you're going to win the race. But Nike will help you, okay, or some good shoes will help you. It's just an add-on, and it'll give you a competitive advantage. But the most important thing is you should be physically fit and ready to run. So supplements, it is more like an add-on to the lifestyle changes that will happen.
Okay,
that's the way you can look at it.
Lovely. And what are your top supplements for this?
So when it comes to the supplements that enhances the sexual activity and the supplements that we give for stress are the same in Ayurveda.
Wow. Okay. Guys, did you just listen to that? The supplements we give for stress and the supplements we give for sexual well-being are the same. That itself should be a big hint to everybody. Exactly.
And again, coming here, one of the top causes of erectile dysfunction is also big stress.
Yes.
So, because once you're stressed out, your body is always on a cortisol dealing situation. And once the cortisol is released, your energy is in your hands and in your legs, not where it's supposed to go. Now, it could be your heart, it could be your brain. So your thinking capacity and your vitality goes down. So for example, ashwagandha, we give it for stress. And we also give it as a sexual wellness supplement. Now, another one, we call it kapikachu. Kapikachu is also something that enhances the dopamine in our system. So on one hand, it is also something that is given for sexual well-being, and it's also something that is given to calm down and also be more productive in your thinking. That's one supplement. And the third one that we give a lot is gokshura. Gokshura is something that we also give for women, especially if they're having too much water retention in the body.
Okay.
If they're holding on to a lot of water. So we give them, it also improves the lean muscle mass. It is also a natural testosterone booster. It's, the botanical name of Gokshura is Tribulus terrestris. So it's a very natural way to boost your testosterone. So these are the third ones. Now, the fourth one, in women, we give a supplement called as Shatavari. By the way, in Ayurveda, we never recommend individual herbs so much, but today individual herbs are coming up. In Ayurvedic, I mean, if you go to a proper Ayurvedic doctor, most of these, he will give it as a compound formulation. Ashwagandha will be given with many other herbs together. It's not given just alone. So, Shatavari is one of the herbs that are given for women's well-being. Now, if you look at the word Shatavari, many people decode the word Shata means 100, Vari means husband. So when it is given to a woman, she has the powers to handle 100 husbands. But that's not the whole point. The idea is it brings down so much of nourishment, it grounds her, and it improves that water element in the harmonious way. So these are the four supplements that I recommend. And of course, Shilajit is there, but Shilajit is very controversial because it is the most adulterated substance that is being sold today. Like not the most, like one of the most adulterated substance. And because Shilajit is a very good blood thinner. But in South India, especially in Kerala, we have this medicine called as Shiva Gulika. I mean, we call it Shiva Gulika because it was designed by Lord Shiva for Ganesha because he was always sedentary and he loves to eat. So in order to make him be more active, his father Shiva designed a pill called as Shiva Gulika. So then the main ingredient of Shiva Gulika is actually Shilajit. It's just it is given for a person who is sedentary, how to make him more active. And Shilajit is one of the best Ayurvedic natural blood thinners. I mean, please don't take it as a blood thinner substitute, which your modern doctor has given.
Of course.
I have to make it clear. So Shiva Gulika is one of them. So these are the 5 things that I recommend.
Okay, lovely. And is there a proper good source of Shilajit that you know of?
I mean, see, we get it from Tibet and the Himalayas, but it's some of the best qualities you get it in Uttaranchal, Uttarakhand, that region.
Okay. All right. So nothing that you can just buy offline. You might as well go through you or some form.
There are many original sources, but the purification of Shilajit is not so easy also. I mean, if you get, let's say, 1 kilogram, after proper purification, only 400 grams will be available. That's the intensity of
that's it. Lovely. Okay. Doctor, thank you so much for this discussion. I think it was absolutely fascinating. We talked about so many different things, right from vitality to sexual well-being to various ways in which we can understand how stress affects it and how our body affects it. Thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you? How can people connect with you?
No, I have a website, vighneshdevraj.com. That's the easiest way, and all my details for consultation. And I also run a Panchakarma retreat called Sitaram Retreat, and the website is sitaramretreat.com.
Lovely. And we are doing a retreat together in December, so I'm very excited about that.
Exactly. So, it's going to be a life-changing retreat, whoever wants to have a change in their whole lifestyle.
Absolutely. So either get in touch with me or get in touch with Dr. Vignesh Devraj and find out a little bit more about it and come join us. We're going to have a fantastic session, 7 days of workshops and understanding our health and well-being.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashdin. As always, it's a pleasure to have these discussions.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome180.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's been a really, really great week on the network. Let me make a couple of recommendations to you guys. Agla Station Adulthood, they have an extraordinary episode on relationships. Ritasha and Ayushi, as always, do a bang-up job. I think you'll really enjoy that conversation. Check out Edges and Sledges, where DJ Ashwin and Varun have been talking to fans from different IPL teams on every episode. It's a really, really interesting project they've taken on during the course of the IPL. And as it comes to a conclusion, I'm sure you'll love to hear the thoughts on the tournament as a whole. I want to mention Uncle Please Sit. They had a really great episode which dove into why is pollution so bad. And I think that given the circumstances we're dealing with right now, it makes a ton of sense to listen to that. Cyrus had a really great week on his show as well. On the Monday episode, he spoke to Raj and DK about all kinds of stuff. He was in one of their early movies. Definitely a fun conversation. Do check that out. And finally, let me talk to you about the Wire Talks with Siddharth Bhatia. We're very excited about this show. On the first episode, Jairam Ramesh is there having conversation with Siddharth Bhatia about the legacy of Indira Gandhi. I think you will really, really get something out of this. Do give it a listen. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Hi guys, this is Ayushi.
And I am Ritasha.
And welcome to Agla Station Adulthood.
It's a fun podcast we've got going on, and we'd love for you to tune in and enjoy with us.
Join us as we stop at various stations and discuss different topics that seem to be bothering us and hopefully
dating,
you as well.
Relationships, beauty, just being an adult, lots of different things.
We don't have a great grip on it, but we've done okay so far.
Catch Agla Station Adulthood every Thursday on the IVM app, the IVM website, or wherever else you get your podcasts.